Good evening and welcome. My name is Michael Hoyt. I live here in Oak Bluffs with my wife and our two children. I was asked this evening by Lori Fisher to be here tonight to help introduce our guest speakers for the evening. After hearing of yet another overdose death on the island, Lori said we need to do something now. The idea of tonight's event was put together by Lori after reaching out to Billy Pfaff, founder of Heroin is Killing My Town. Lori invited Billy to come to the island and meet with people individually a couple weeks ago, and he did that. When they were down at the boat, she asked Billy if he'd be willing to come back and speak to a larger group, so here he is. I will be introducing several speakers this evening. Some will be speaking on treatment options, some will share their personal journey of experience, strength, and hope, and others will share their ideas how we can help our community. At the end of the evening, at the end of the speakers, there'll be an opportunity for everyone in the audience to speak as well. We understand that you may have come here this evening for yourself or out of concern for a loved one, be it out of fear or even anger of what drugs are doing to our community. This has affected all of us, some for ourselves, our parents, our children, grandchildren, spouses, siblings, friends, coworkers, even your neighbors. Addiction does not discriminate. Our goal tonight is about working towards solutions and not finger pointing. It is about sharing information with you, and after our speakers, giving you an opportunity to ask questions, make comments, and share your concerns. Our first speaker tonight I'd like to introduce is Amy George from Spectrum Health Systems and New England Recovery Center. Would you help me welcome Amy?
Thank you. It's so good to see so many people here tonight. This is awesome. I love it. This is really good. Yay. I do work for Spectrum Health Systems. Spectrum Health Systems is based out of Worcester, Massachusetts. We've been doing work with substance use disorders for the past 45 years and have a number of inpatient and outpatient facilities throughout Massachusetts. Our main campus is located in Westboro, Massachusetts, and on that campus we have various levels of care. We provide detoxification services, inpatient residential services, crisis stabilization services. We have a young adult program, age 18 to 25, and I said this morning, one of the things that is really important to me is that at Spectrum we have the ability to serve everyone. We are able to serve individuals that have no health insurance. We have the ability to serve individuals that have mass health products, and we're also able to serve people that have private insurance. We're in network with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and I really feel like it's important that we're able to provide to a lot of people. We also have 11 outpatient facilities, and again, I'm so happy to be here because a main part of my job is that I'm out and about in the community, and every single day I'm getting calls from family members, moms, dads, husbands, wives, who love someone that is struggling with a substance use disorder. And I think we're all here to let people know that there is help out there, there are resources out there, and there's also a ton of hope. I see a lot of great stories come from recovery. And this morning when we had our discussion, one of the things that we were talking about is the fact that when you're in recovery, there are tough times, and we need to be there during those tough times, and we also need to be there during those good times. So I just want you to know that there are resources out there. We're going to have our cards out there, and when we say call us, text us, get in touch with us any way you can, we mean it. Call us, because there is someone that's going to answer the phone. And there is someone out there that cares, okay?
Thank you. Our next guest will be Emily Wells, who's ready to speak to us, share with us.
Big, come on. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to hurt and break my loved ones' hearts. I want to have zero control over my own life. I want to be a prisoner in my own head and continuously put myself through torture. That's what heroin does to you. It makes you feel at ease. It makes everything better until it doesn't anymore. And by the time you realize that, you're already hooked. Everything you thought it fixed just gets worse. It wins you over, and takes control. Heroin doesn't believe in common ground. You don't get to choose just to do it on the weekends, on your days off, or once your children are asleep. You'll say it, you'll make up any excuse or come up with any loophole you could think of to continue. There aren't any loopholes. There is no common ground. Heroin doesn't compromise. It comes down to two options. You either escape from the cage it locks you in, or you let it keep you. Let it take everything away from you, including your last breath of life. My name's Emily Wells. I'm 21 years old, and I never chose to be a heroin addict. I came into addiction quickly and quietly at the age of 15. For me, it was inevitable. I became obsessed with the lifestyle, the drug deals, the stealing, meeting connections, dirty hotels, crack houses, using counterfeit, fascinated watching the process of my friend injecting heroin for the first time. By 17, I had already attempted suicide, been arrested twice, lost my license to an OUI, junked my car for drug money, and was on probation. I had hit my first rock bottom, and I ran away from it all. I moved to the island 4 years ago to free myself from my ongoing opiate addiction and gave myself a new start. I was working as a CNA, a dental assistant, a vet tech, and a hostess. I started my own pet sitting business. I bought myself a brand new car, got my own place, got my license back, and started building credit. I made friends, I found connections, started dabbling in pills again, and before I knew it, I was watching people overdose in my bedroom with needles still in their arm. When my dealers warned me and told me to be careful with the newest batch, instead of fearing for my life, my heart accelerated with excitement. I was at a $200 a day habit, all while trying to maintain a functioning, structured life. I was working in the medical field. I participated in family functions, even if that meant stepping away at any opportunity to take a hit in the nearest bathroom. I made sure my 3 dogs were all up to date on their shots. I never sold my flat screen TV or any of my jewelry. I never stole from my family. Nobody knew. Nobody had a single clue that I was a heroin addict, that I fell victim to this disease, and that I suffered in silence. My relationship with heroin turned immediately toxic. She was my one and only priority. I turned into a master manipulator and a con artist, constantly scheming, sneaking, lying, constantly on the go, on the hunt, playing the waiting game. The day I rushed home from work on my lunch break, nodded out, and ran myself into a ditch. Once I got home, I threw a rock through the window pane of my front door, praying there was some leftover dope lodged in an old suit in my bedroom. I scraped it desperately, knowing nothing was there. Then came the day I was able to stare at my partner in their eyes and tell them I loved heroin more than I loved them, and that's when I accepted the dark reality of my addiction. I started not recognizing myself in the mirror, not recognizing my own voice. My face looked sunken in. I had burn marks all over my chest, legs, and arms from nodding out and dropping cigarettes on myself without noticing. The void, the feeling of unsteadiness, is one of the many aspects of this disease that made me terrified to try and make a change. A year ago this month, I experienced withdrawals from heroin for the first time. I saw people around me relaxing and unwinding after a long day. There was no such thing as relaxing or unwinding for me. I was in a constant state of discomfort, paranoia, fits of rage, hot chills, and cold sweats, my bones itching for my next fixed. It wasn't about getting high at that point. It was about filling the void, the emptiness that consumed me, and just feeling normal. My mind wasn't mine anymore. I felt like I had gone insane. I felt like I was dying. My body was burning from the inside out, and my bones begging to break at every joint. My tears were uncontrollable. I took a whole prescription bottle of pills, a handful of Klonopin, and drank it down with a bottle of NyQuil. Till this day, I still don't know if I was trying to kill myself. My only thoughts going through my head were, please make it stop. I just want it to stop. If that meant dying, then I was prepared for that. Anything to be unchained from the hold heroin had on me. I felt like my body was covered in barbed wire. My mother, confused and in a panic, rushed me to the hospital that day and found out her beautiful, blue-eyed, successful daughter that she's always bragged about having such a good head on her shoulders was a heroin addict. With tears running down her face, she watched me scream, flail around like a fish out of water, and rip IVs out of my arm the night I was admitted to my first detox. I got out June 1st, 2015. 5 days in a detox may have stopped the withdrawals, but it didn't put an end to my using. I started attending New Path's outpatient program at Island Counseling Center and started individual counseling as well. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that an addict will not stop using until they're ready. After detox, I was numb. All I did was stare at the wall for hours, chain smoking cigarettes. I was lethargic, and easy tax became a chore that took whatever I had left in me out of me. It wasn't long before I was back to doing a gram of fentanyl a night, if not more. I noticed it fades quicker. Every time I went back, the high always fades sooner, and I was never able to get the same high again. I remember reading the newspaper, and it was regarding heroin deaths and overdose statistics. I saw all the numbers and realized they just weren't numbers to me anymore. They were names to me now, names of friends, family, coworkers, and not too long after reading it, my own name became one of those numbers too. It was August, and I experienced what I now recognize as self-destruction. I repeatedly punched myself in the face and screamed at the top of my lungs with no words coming out. It wasn't until I knew I was able to score that I calmed down. I met up with my dealer, who sold me a gram, did 2 lines with me, and proceeded to give me another small bag for free. I went to my friend's work afterwards and did all of it within a half hour. The next thing I remember was laying on a stretcher behind my car in a public parking lot in the back of a restaurant with several familiar faces surrounding me with tears in their eyes. I had something over my face to give me oxygen. The paramedics were yelling questions at me like what my name was or if I knew where I was. I had overdosed. CPR was admitted by a bystander. I was slapped, punched, drenched in water, and dragged up to the concrete. An off-duty paramedic eating lunch administered Narcan. He had told everyone around me that I wasn't going to make it, yet here I sit. My counselor, along with other medical professionals, came to the conclusion that best treatment for me would be a dual diagnosis treatment facility. I suffer from a wide range of mental illnesses, and I'm a self-harmer. My addiction feeds into my mental illnesses and vice versa. It's a never-ending cycle. Having mass health, the only way to get into one of these facilities is either going through a detox or a hospital first. I've been to detox after detox, and with the lack of beds, most of the time, I ended up detoxing myself at home. I've been to several different hospitals attempting to get into a dual program. Each time, I'm either sent home with a comfort pack or just discharged the following morning if a bed hasn't turned up. I tried reaching out to several nonprofit organizations and also contacted private pay facilities in search of a scholarship. Any of the private pays would have been $5,000 to $30,000, which wasn't an option. An organization did get back to me, promised me a 90-day to a year dual diagnosis treatment in California, which ended up being an insurance scam, and at that point I lost any hope I had left. When I heard Billy was coming to the island, I reached out to him and he immediately texted me back and sat with me the following day for nearly 2 hours. He listened to my story, actually heard what I was saying, and what I wanted to do for my recovery. By the end of our conversation, we made plans to meet up the following day and place me at a recommended hospital. Once I was placed in the hospital, counselors met with me, and instead of getting me into a facility, I was told I didn't need rehab, I didn't need dual diagnosis, and I didn't need any inpatient treatment for that matter. Their advice was for me to pay out of pocket or get better insurance, and in the same breath also told me I was mentally unstable. The only other option would have been for me to return to detox, and in order to do so, I would have had to relapse. To me, it seems a little bit contradicting. But this is the dark reality of our system. This is why you can't sugarcoat addiction. Billy did what he could to place me from outside of the hospital and went as far as sending his assistant Jen in to calm me down and go over alternative options. Regardless of our efforts, I was discharged to the streets the following morning. Luckily enough for me, Billy was there to grab me in less than 10 minutes. I spent the next 48 hours under Billy's supervision. We ate on the road and stopped at the gym to shower. He was constantly on a mission. I watched him go to bad parts of town because mothers were calling him when they didn't know where else to turn. He made sure the people he was working with followed through with their Vivitrol appointments, and when he knew the addict was at a high risk, he kept them safe and calm, worked with the family, and got them sectioned so those mothers could sleep that night and those addicts get another chance at life. He had both phones at hand 24/7. I remember pulling up to Spectrum's facility and people were yelling his name out of the window. He was an inspiration to them, and he's an inspiration to me as well. I've been clean and sober since Billy picked me up from the other side of the boat. He told me I was going to fucking die if I didn't get the help I desperately needed. He gave me hope and made me see potential in myself. He treated me like a person instead of trash. I'm clean today because I had a 48-hour life-changing experience. I'm clean today because I was shown my self-worth. Today, I feel like my bones belong under my skin, and I am so blessed to be here right now. I have slept in more hospital beds this year than I have my own, and I'm not ashamed that I'm an addict anymore. I was given another shot at living life. At the end of the day, it's always going to be my choice, and I'm choosing to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. Emily's mom Tracy Wells would like to come up and share what her experience is with having a daughter in recovery. Tracy?
Hi. I had a great life, great job, wonderful place to live, great husband, 2 wonderful children. I had it all. Then in the blink of an eye, my world came crashing down upon me. You see, I have a heroin problem. It robbed me of everything I held dear to me. Heroin stole my job, rocked my 30-year relationship to the core, almost broke up my family, and crushed my soul. Funny thing is, I have never touched or seen heroin in my life. I am the parent of a heroin addict. I was that parent that stayed home when the kids were little. I was the Girl Scout leader. I was involved in my kids' lives. I did talk to them about drugs. I did everything I was meant to do as a mom. Thought my daughter had her life together. At 20, she took care of herself. She was beautiful, 2 amazing jobs. Never once did I think, yeah, she's on drugs. I was unaware of the signs. All I knew about heroin is what I saw on TV. How did I not know this? I'll tell you why. Education. My idea of an addict was homeless people on the streets, begging people for money, living for that next high. Was I wrong? It's our children, our parents, our neighbors, our friends. It was not until I reached out and I got educated that I realized all the signs of my daughter's addiction was right in front of me the whole time. Education is key. My daughter was suffering and struggling to stay clean. She saw herself as a bad person, a person not worth saving, a person her community would not be proud of. She felt alone. Then came Billy from Heroin is Killing My Town. He came to the island to start educating people on this disease. My daughter reached out to Billy that day, and Billy met her within 10 minutes. 2 hours he spent talking to my daughter he had just met. I had never seen her listen to someone's words so intensely as Billy's. At the end of the conversation, it was decided that Billy would make the 4-hour trip back to his home that night and then back to my daughter the next day. He kept his word. He started to get her into treatment that very day. Unfortunately, the hospital was more concerned where she lived and insurance than treatment. They released her. So here was my daughter on the streets of a city I had never been, and I was hours away, and there was no boats. I didn't have to worry for long. Billy was there within a few minutes and picked her up. He kept her safe and clean until a new plan was hatched for her recovery. He was also angry at the system. He started to make phone calls immediately to change the way addiction is looked upon and dealt with. He also made a video of my daughter's experience with the hospital. I chose to share this video with my community. I was scared when I shared it. I was admitting that my daughter was an addict, scared of the comments, scared of what people would think of my daughter. What happened next was more than I could ever hope for. My fears went out the window and was replaced with gratitude. My daughter wasn't getting shamed on. She was getting support. People started to cheer her on. They started telling stories of their own addiction. They started talking about solutions to help. Between this and Billy, her self-worth rose. She began realizing that, yes, she is worth it. Yes, she can do this. Yes, she was worth saving. And no, she was not alone. Her attitude was changed. She took the steps towards her recovery and is taking it one day at a time. But for the first time in a long time, I see my daughter thriving. Heroin is Killing My Town is not only getting people into treatment, but it's starting to get people educated and talking about change. Billy not only changed my life, but my daughter's life, but mine and my community's view on this epidemic. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. In my daughter's story, it took her family, our town, and Billy. Spread education.
We're just having a moment. All right.
Thank you, Tracy. Our next speaker this evening is John Green. John is with the Evan Foundation, No First Time. He's a father who lost his son from this deadly epidemic. John?
How you doing? My name is John Green. Usually my wife speaks usually at these things for me. I'm just so emotional every time my son's name is brought up in front of me. So we started a nonprofit organization called Evan Foundation, No First Time. That's who we think this should be, in front of kids at maybe 5th or 6th grade level, because, all it takes is that one time. And, they say, first time's a choice, second time's an addiction, and it's true. So I'll tell you a little story about my son, Evan. Happy-go-lucky kid, a lot of energy. When he was born, it was the best day of my life. I remember that day. He actually ended up in Mass General, Children's Hospital, because he was fighting for his life when he was first born from a collapsed lung. And I prayed to God, that whole week that, please God, let me have my boy. So God came through. He did. And we had a great life after that. We ended up moving out of the city. I figured, go up a class to, we moved to the town of Easton. Nice big house. And, we worked as both parents, had my own business. And, I gave my son everything as you people would give your son and daughter. Snowboards, just all these great things, all sports, and very proud of my son. And then along came my daughter, which was another amazing thing for me. And I remember it was 2010, I started seeing a decline in my son. He gave up basketball. I started seeing everything missing around me, snowboard, bikes, just his whole enthusiasm also. And then I noticed all the people who hang around with different people, his so-called friends, these new friends of his. And so we started worrying about that, started looking into things. By that time, he was smoking a lot of weed. It was no big deal from what he says. And at the age of 15, he was driving around with a couple of older friends of his. And the kid turned around and said, "Hey, Ev, try this." And it was a perk. And from that perk, he chased that perk until he was 17 years old. And at 17, he had an older girlfriend, and she shot him up with heroin. Said, "Hey, baby, try this." And him and his friends, it took him down. By that time, he was thrown out of school at 11th grade. And I just remember going through, trying to talk about it with people, and I always want to get information in a nice, secret way, like, "Hey, how you doing?" Talk to people, because I didn't want to put that stigma on my son, because, again, as you know, the stigma of that stuff is we don't want this kid around us, we don't want him in our house, he'll start stealing stuff. And even kids in Easton, their own parents be like, "Okay, that wasn't my kid, that's your kid." And that's where it was, they used to say, "How do you know so much about this drug stuff?" Well, listen, you got to educate yourself and learn it, and we did. We actually, learned it. I learned this disease through my son, Evan. I started taking the detoxes. His first detox was High Point. I remember him going there, and he was telling me how, people were throwing drugs in the window, that, he really wanted to get clean. So his hope of that was, kind of disheartening, that he went to go get help, and even there he couldn't really get the help because people weren't taking it serious. So I remember taking him out of that, and he hated going to detoxes. So then a year later, he's fighting it, and we ended up having him sectioned, and he ended up going to, he went to Dartmouth for 43 days. He violated probation, and for that 43 days, we knew where he was. And it was kind of, good for us that we got to sleep at night, and his sister got to, really enjoy life without him always going crazy, and it was always about him. So the attention was always on him and never on her. And that's what it does, as you guys, I don't know if anyone experiences that, but you see that all your attention gets focused on your kid who's an addict, and it's not fair for the other kid. And your job, how do you work and how do you do things? So that time when he came out, December 23rd, 2014, we were so proud, and he hugged his mother for about a half an hour. said, "Ma, I never want to go back to that place, you know, because you end up kicking methadone in that place." And it was like, you could die from doing that. 5 days in a hole, just kicking methadone. So he said it was the worst thing in his life. "I'll never touch this stuff again." That was his words. "I got this licked. I'm never going back there again." I remember it was January 11th, 2014. I got that call from my daughter. It's on a Saturday. "Dad, Mom's at the door crying. Gotta come home." My son overdosed that day. And that wasn't even the hardest part. The hardest part was going to the hospital for a week straight and seeing him on a machine. And what we did was have his friends come in and see him, and we thought we had some hope there. And I remember that day. It was January 16th on a Sunday. We had to leave the hospital, and we had to take him off that machine. And that's the hardest thing. And today, it's still hard. And you don't get used to it. People go, "Oh yeah, you'll get used to it," And I remember, I was talking earlier, I remember coming to this island 3 weeks later for a film festival. And now you people really soothed me and told me a lot about this island and the problems you guys had. It really helped me. It really helped me a lot, talking to you people. And I was pretty proud to be back talking to you about my son, about what we're doing. We're really trying to change things in educational awareness. And we're in schools. We've actually been speaking. We spoke in 12 different schools so far. And we're going all the way to even Agawam, Mass. And wherever we can speak, we will do that, And, like Billy says, I've seen Billy. I've been with Billy a few times where we've been in Brockton, Tent City, where, some dangerous people, and he's dragged them out and helped them. Amazing, And every time I've had issues with people, call Billy. Just last week, I had a friend of mine from my town call me, "Hey, what can I do here?" I said, "Call this guy. He'll take care of you," And he did. He actually, she went to the police station. She's afraid to go to the police station because of that stigma. She's like, "No, the cops don't like my son. I don't want to go there." Well, she went there, and they had a room for her. They had Billy on the phone, and she couldn't believe how the big changes were. So some changes coming. People are starting to get together and really talk about this awareness, because we're losing human life. This ain't just something. This ain't, to me, it's like a nightmare every day. We wake up, but we're in this fight, and things are changing. And as a community, as I see, back in 2 years ago when we started out this thing, you'd see maybe 4 or 5 people. And now with a big community like this, reaching out, I think it's amazing how you guys are here trying to learn about it. Because again, I wish I knew enough. I got learned through my son, and at the age of 19, he's dead. And that's the reality of this today. I got people like Emily who are really changing her life, and it's amazing to see. There are some hope out there, and that's what we need to hear is the hope. So make sure you guys watch your kids, watch what they're doing, because it's important. You want to be here with me. Every day I cry. So I just want to thank you people for listening and making a difference. Thank you very much. No first time is where we got to be. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'd like now to ask. Right, we're going to have question and answers at the end, so we'll call everybody up, okay? Thank you. I'd like to ask Kalina Searle to come up. She's going to share her experience with us.
Hi. I've never done this before, so bear with me. I might get emotional, and I did not write anything. I don't believe in it. I was born and raised here. I got generations of family on this island. Cops, firemen, EMTs, you name it. My older sister's an attorney, probably one of the best on the island. That wasn't the path I chose. I don't blame it on my parents. I don't blame it on the abuse. I blame it on the choices that I made for myself. I saw what others were doing, I thought it was cool, and that's just what happened. About, I think it was 12 years ago now, I stabbed somebody outside of Cumberland Farms. He almost died. Spent a lot of time in prison, heard a lot of dope stories. Oh, I did this, I did that. I even lost people from in there, from dope. But I was still determined to go out and try it. I can beat it, I can do it. Won't happen to me. Yeah, no, it did. Hard. I stole from my mother. I stole from my father. I stole from my sister. I even stole from people that put me in their homes when my parents didn't give a shit. I used to hold grudges against my family for throwing me out. Thought it was, at the time, I thought it was, oh, they're turning their backs. They don't love me. Well, now, standing here almost 14 months clean and sober, they did it because they had to. They didn't know what else to do. And you know what? I'm glad they did, because I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. I'm scared shitless. I almost died quite a few times. Numerous problems, anger issues, couldn't look nobody in the eyes. Walk into Cumbies, the place where I stabbed somebody, have people coming up to you and being like, hey, how you doing, how you doing? Being like, yeah, I'm all right, I gotta go. Running away. Like, you should be able to look at these people. This is our community. Like, we're losing a generation of kids. Kids. Fucking kids. All right? We all need to do something. Everyone in this room, you're here for a reason. You know, and whether I like the people or not, when I hear of it, it kills me. I live up in Vermont. I drove down here just for today, and I'm getting on the 9:45 boat to go back because I have to work tomorrow. You know? And that's because I chased my recovery like I chased my drugs. My recovery is more important than anything. I don't care what anyone thinks. Oh, she thinks she's better than? No, I'm no better than anybody. We're all equal. That's what it's supposed to be about. Equalism. Honestly, like, can anyone in this room turn to your right or your left and say you know the person sitting next to you? Do it, I'm serious. Turn to your right or your left. Now, look to your right or left and tell that person you believe in them. No, you laugh. It's not funny. It's not a joke. It's not funny. Do you believe in the person that's sitting next to you? Yes or no? Yes. Tell them. I want to hear it. Not enough people do that on a daily, and because of that, we're losing people. Tell your children you love them. Doesn't matter how old they are. Let them know. Because you know what? Maybe if I had a little bit more love, I wouldn't have done the things I did. You know? I acted out because I needed attention. I needed love. No matter what I did to get it, I got it. There's plenty of people in this room that watched me screw up my life, and they're still there saying, Kalina, I love you. Kalina, you got this. Don't worry about it. You're good. Yeah, with almost 14 months clean, some days I don't got it. There's days where I want to give up, where I want to say screw it. And then there's people like this, in this room, my friends, encouraging me, telling me they love me, some of which I believe and some of which you're probably bullshitting me. I don't really care. You know? It is what it is. I feel that this problem is bigger than you know about. You need to open your eyes, and you need to see what's not only in front of you, but what's killing the people that you love. Because you know what? If it wasn't for certain people like Billy and his team, and this is just watching his videos because I got clean before that, I wouldn't be clean right now. His videos stopped me from many relapses. He's a good man. He saved my friend's life when I didn't even think she was going to get clean. I'm damn proud of you. Damn proud. When you go home and you put your head on your pillow tonight, remember there's somebody that's putting their head down for the last time. And there's no coming back from that. Thank you.
At this time tonight, we'd like to take a moment of silence. It's okay. We'd like to take a moment of silence to remember those we've lost and those that are still out there suffering. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Billy Pfaff, founder of Heroin is Killing My Town, outreach and substance advocate on the front lines of this killer epidemic, working to raise awareness and to provide resources for those suffering from substance use disorders. Please help me welcome Billy.
Thank you. I'm going to start off saying this. Never judge a book by its cover. This tattooed thug with his hat backwards and his wife beater is probably going to be the loser that'll save your kid's life. I clean up pretty nice, don't I? A lot of people talk about the way I am, how I dress, wearing a wife beater all tattooed up. My mission is to break stigma about drugs and the epidemic, and I have people, talking about the way I look. I don't need a three-piece suit to kick in a door in a crack house, do I? Do I need a three-piece suit to go under a bridge and save your child's life? So what does it matter what the hell I wear? Right? Let's not judge. I personally want to thank every one of you guys tonight for coming. I love seeing a full house. There's a lot to go over here tonight. I tend to bounce around, but I did make booklets. A lot of people on the island donated money to have these booklets made. This has been in the making for probably 6 months. It's a lot of work, but there's a lot of good knowledge in this book. And I made it so in case I slip up or don't remember something, there's so many things that we need to cover today doing this. And before I get going, I want to tell you guys, you guys heard Emily's story. When I come out to the island, I sat in a restaurant for lunch. It was the longest damn lunch I've had all year, but it was well worth it. There is another person that couldn't be here today that I pulled off the island. Her name is Kelly. I talked to her a few weeks ago. She completed her 7 days treatment. And she said, I'm moving on to a holding, Billy. I feel great when I wake up every day. I talked to Kelly yesterday. You know where she is? She's in the next step, and she's in a program for up to a year, and she's doing amazing. I would have loved to have her call in tonight, but it's been so hectic and crazy, it's kind of hard to call into a program. But she is doing amazing, and I can tell you that we all need to work together out here on the island. There's a lot going on. I talked earlier today, like I can go to Lowell or Lawrence, I can go to Worcester, I can go downtown Boston, and I can bring you to any hot spot there is loaded with drugs and addicts, alcoholics. But out here on this beautiful island, It's behind closed doors. You really can't tell who's doing what. And I'm here tonight to kick in some doors and rip up some carpets because we're not going behind friggin' doors. And we can't sweep anything under the rug. One death is too many. This community's small, and we're losing like one a month on average from what I'm gathering. I don't know how true that is, but I'll take it. One death in a year is too much. But there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of political things. I'm not blaming anybody. I don't care who does what. But from here on out, we need to work together as a team. We need to support addicts. We need to get off our ass and work really hard to make things happen. And you can do that. You, the people, we, the people, right? We need all the help we can get. I've come out to the island. I think this is my third time. You know, I talked to the people on the boat. I asked the guy that was working the medical thing, I said, "You guys have Narcan?" He looked at me funny. I said, "You guys have Narcan?" It was almost like he didn't know what it was, and I said, "You know, you guys should have it on here because there's an epidemic around the world." And I made a few calls. I haven't heard anything back, but I'm going to make some more calls and try to make that happen. This epidemic is killing so many people. And I have to tell everyone in this crowd tonight, the bottom line is if you know or suspect that anyone's using any kind of opiates, especially heroin, you need to take action immediately. We have a small window of opportunity. It's not that easy to find beds. This week, we've had a real hell of a time finding beds for females because there's not enough in the state. You just got to keep plugging away and keep reaching out. And that's what I love about my mission. I started this mission a couple years ago. It lay dormant for a little while. I didn't do much. I lost my best friend, Jason. And then my daughter's boyfriend died 6 months later. And I was watching my community die around me. And I couldn't deal with it anymore. Actually, I had a hard time sleeping for about a week. So I launched Heroin is Killing My Town about 6 months into it. And I actually just recently changed my childhood dream career to do this full time. I'm a nonprofit organization with not much funding, but I don't need funding. I'll work hard on the weekends and nights to give myself a couple dollars in gas to go anywhere to help save someone's life or inspire them to get into treatment. Last August, after launching my page on Facebook, small town in Billerica, Massachusetts, mid-August of last summer, my page reached 138,000 people around the world in 1 week, 7 days. The people that we help and the people that we try to educate and the families, this is a family disease, you know. It's not like it's the addict. The families need to be educated, and it's so severe. You need to understand this addiction and you need to follow through. A lot of the people that I deal with on the streets have nobody. They burn their bridges. They steal, they rob, they sell themselves on the streets, they deal drugs, and they will kill you for $1 to get high. It doesn't matter. That's the addiction part of it. And it's a deadly, vicious cycle. The stories I could tell you, some stuff, I mean, I get home at the end of the day and I'm crying, driving in my car, and I just can't believe what I saw. There's children involved. There's people overdosing. It's wiping out our world. So I spend day in and day out around the clock and raise awareness. We need to hit this from all angles. It's not about just grabbing an addict or someone that needs help and putting them in a treatment facility. That's only the beginning. Do you really think if we just help a few addicts on the streets that that's going to help the education and the awareness with our locals and our communities, our hospitals, outreaches? It's not. We need to get into the school systems. If we don't get in the school systems now, we're going to have another generation wiped out later. We need to work with the police. We need to work with the fire. We need to work in the town halls. We need to educate pretty much everybody in every household. We have to break the stigma and stop it. I've brought numerous people into hospitals in this past 6 months. And I've yet, out of probably 40 or 50 of them, I have yet to see anybody put in a room, in an emergency room, with a door on it. They get put on a gurney in the back hall. And I can guarantee that on my life. If one of you walked in and said you had diabetes or cancer or a bad heart, do you think you're gonna go on a gurney in the back hall? You're not. And it's sad and wrong. I've put many people in hospitals as a last resort. They get discharged. They give them a discharge paper like Emily, and it says, go online, call this 800 number. It was our honor to try to help and serve you, and don't do drugs. That's PISA. Telling someone that's suffering from addiction, you're putting them on the street, and they feel like a failure and there's no more hope, but you don't want them to do friggin' drugs. Aren't you special? But that's where I kick in. If anybody ever needs help, you can call my numbers. I get calls all the time. My phone will ring at 2 in the morning. My phone rings, it's kind of funny sometimes, because we have a lot of outreach, we have a lot of phone numbers and facilities around the world. I pick up my phone sometimes, they go, Billy? Billy? I'm like, yeah. This is Billy? I'm like, this is Billy's phone, you call Billy, how are you? The reason why I say that, it's simple. If every one of you in this room right now Googled, I need a detox for heroin or opiates online on your phone right now, we can't, this area kind of sucks with self-service, but you know what I'm saying. So you Google, I have a heroin addict or someone suffering from addiction, and you go to Google, and you put Martha's Vineyard, or OB, whatever you want to put, you're going to get a bunch of 800 numbers. If you call them 800 numbers and tell them you have a pocket full of cash and you're living on the vineyard, your dad's a billionaire, that phone will ring before you put it down. You bet your ass. If you tell them you have mass health, you ain't getting a call back. If you tell them you have no insurance, you're probably not going to get a call back. I do it all the time to test the waters, and this is why I'm telling you. And everything that I know is from hitting these streets on the front line. And I can tell you this is fact. I see it with a lot of local outreach. If someone calls me and they're in a tent under a bridge, if someone calls me, they're Jewish, black, gay, straight, or someone calls me to live in a mansion, I treat every single phone call. They have a heartbeat, they matter to me. I don't care what you look like, what your gender is, or where you live. I fight really hard to get you help. And I really can't tell you how many people do that in this world. Not many at all, and it's pretty sad. People reached out to me here for a reason. I don't take crap from nobody. I stand up and speak. I don't have a master's degree in college. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a recovery coach. I'm a tattoo artist. And this tattoo artist, this thug, idiot tattoo artist with his hat backwards, moron, has probably saved more lives than any facility around, because I do it around the clock. I help inspire many. And I do it because I have a passion and a drive. Thank you. These spotlights are killing me. I wish I had my hat and my beater on right now. You're killing me. So let me tell you this, guys. We do have a serious problem. Raise your hands if you think there's a problem out here on this beautiful island. Right. And that's why this thug is here tonight. We need to work together. A lot of people bash a lot of people. There's a lot of outreach out here. It's all about knowledge and education. And a lot of people are trying to start and help people, but they kind of get roadblocks sometimes. But we cannot give up. We have to keep working, because you can make anything happen if you believe. And I know that firsthand about willpower and strength. One of the reasons that I do what I do is in 2010, I suffered severe depression. I lost everything. My car broke, my apartment broke. I had no reason to live. So what did I do? I went to the hospital. No one was there to support me, not a family member, not a friend. I went to the hospital, and guess what? They poured out the chiclets like you wouldn't believe. 5 different medications, telling me every few weeks I would go back and they would say, well, that's a side effect. Let's switch to this and let's switch to that. It actually made me crazy, and I almost killed a police officer and a girl. And I don't do that stuff. I don't even like saying that, but I need to tell you the real truth. I stopped the medication and told the doctor, and she told me I'm crazy, that's dangerous. I didn't think it was dangerous. My hands and my mind were dangerous, so I stopped. And I went out and hit the streets and listened to my headphones and listened to inspirational music and went to the gym. I was stuck in the hospital in the blizzard of 2010 at Christmas for 4 days, looking out a window at a snowstorm. And nobody, not once, visited me in the hospital. And I said I couldn't let myself down. I had a loaded gun in my mouth, and I was going to take my life. I wrote suicide notes to my children. I begged for my life for my 2 beautiful daughters. And I said to the man upstairs, if you can save my life, I'm going to help others. I spent my whole life helping homeless and people that had nothing, people that, needed money, that were dying of cancer and the houses burned down. I've spent my whole life helping people, especially the homeless. I said, if you can save my life for my children, I'm going to do it tenfold every day. I just need to be alive for my kids because I couldn't control my brain for about 6 months. And 138,000 people in 7-day reach, inspiring them, I think that's tenfold, right? And I'm very thankful that I'm alive today to be here standing at this podium, because I know a lot of people are alive and doing well. A lot of families are resting right now because I was involved in their life for a reason, to help them. I'm never going to stop what I'm doing, whether people say anything about me or not. It's not about what you look like, it's about what's inside here. If you wake up in the morning and you can feel a heartbeat, you have a purpose to live. 2010, I was suicidal, went through all that stuff. I begged for my life and turned it around. I had a childhood dream when I was younger to be a tattoo artist because I was fascinated by it and I loved to draw from the age of 12 on. In 2013, I tried for a couple years to apprentice and work for people to become a licensed tattoo artist, and I was turned down by everybody, 5 people. I had one guy laugh at me. I had another guy tell me I need to do some more work. In 2013, I opened the doors of my own tattoo shop. I was licensed, and I launched myself pretty much worldwide and had 1,000 followers within 6 months. And it was very successful, and I lived that dream. I've made all my childhood dreams come true, except for going to Hawaii. And that's pretty damn easy. You get on a plane and you empty out your bank account and you go there for 2 weeks. I'm trying to find a way to get out there and spread awareness so I can go out there and work, because I love to work. But I've made all my dreams come true because of willpower and strength, and I know what, courage is. I know what being positive is. That's why I'm standing here today, and I'm never going to stop. We need to get in the school systems. We need to work with the police and fire. We need to work with the hospitals, and we need to educate everybody. After-school programs are very important for the kids to keep them off the streets. We need to work on medication drop boxes in the police stations and town halls maybe, or hospitals, shops, containers. We all need to go home right now and check our houses for medication that is not being used or lingering. A lot of this problem in the younger age kids in middle school, it starts right in your medicine cabinet. I ask all of you today to spread the word and go home and check and see where your medication is and get it locked up. Because kids like to sample. I want to see people like John Green in the school systems speaking. I would love to see police and fire departments doing like community outreach to get closer to the communities, and it helps them. We've had a big stigma with people calling police, and that's where the Good Samaritan law come into play. People are overdosing and dying, and everyone's freaking out, cleaning up drugs, and someone's deceased on the floor because they don't want to go to jail. The Good Samaritan Act in Massachusetts should be followed worldwide. I think it's amazing. Do you believe that? That's helped save many lives, hasn't it? I want Massachusetts to be the poster child for the world on this epidemic. And I believe I can do that, and I promised. I just had a grandson, Carter William, and I made a promise to him. When he gets into school, he is not going to understand or know what a heroin epidemic is. How he's going to find it? In the friggin' history books, because I'm going to make that happen. And I'm going to fight hard. Would that be amazing for the next few generations away to open up a book and read about a heroin epidemic that's wiped out so many? That's truly amazing, and I can tell you on my life that we can make this happen. But we got to come together. I've helped many people. People call me up and ask me, do you help people that drink or do other or have other problems? I've helped people that are suicidal. I've helped people that are freezing to death. I've helped heroin addicts. I've helped people that are on benzos. It doesn't matter, reach out. The biggest reason why I'm here today, and I'm so, so thankful that all of you are sitting here tonight, because the only way we're going to stop this and save this beautiful island and this world is come together in one and join hands and hit the front line and work really hard. The other thing that I can tell you that's very important for all of us to be involved with, and I'm sure everyone can agree, I do this day in and day out. I've placed, 380 people in treatment in the past 16 weeks. Okay? And people say, where do you place them or whatever? It doesn't matter. I place them all over the place and I get them in. Emily was with me one night. I had her under my wing, and I wasn't letting her go. And she told you a little bit of that story. I pulled up to a detox facility loaded with people, and half of them were in there because of me. I thought I was the President of the United States. People are screaming out the windows like animals. Oh my God, that's Billy Inkslinger. Look at him, no, the dude. And they get the bracelets going. You know what? That's a good feeling. It ain't about being famous. You know what it's about? Is those people screaming my name probably could be dead right now. That's the way I look at it. I work really hard at what I do. I don't have much funding, but it ain't never going to stop me. I've exhausted everything. I've closed my tattoo business down because I couldn't sit there answering the phones with parents crying, screaming, brothers and sisters. I couldn't concentrate, and you have to concentrate. It's not the same as painting a fence. It's like, yo, dude, my name's spelled B-O-B-B-Y, not B-O-D-Y. You know, so I closed that down. And people telling me I'm crazy. No, I'm not crazy, because I can still live my dream every day. I can tattoo when I want to tattoo. I'd rather be out there on the front lines, inspiring people. And let's change this mess of a world, this sad, sad world, into caring and loving again. It's a shame. There's no more respect. We're losing too many people with this epidemic. I ask all of you guys here tonight to please do whatever you can to reach out to everybody you know. Try to help educate everybody about this epidemic, because you tend to, when you go into communities like this, you really don't see it out in the streets. It's hidden, and before it's too late, we're losing lives. We need to know, and we don't have no shame on someone suffering from addiction. I remember growing up, you hear heroin, I ran like hell. You hear needles, I ran like hell. This stigma should not be in place right now, and it never should be. We got to end it. We need to work together. We need to work really hard. There's a small window of opportunity. I made these booklets tonight, like I said earlier. In this booklet, there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of very helpful things. Even just someone, if I could recommend everybody in this room tonight, CPR is really needed now in this day and age. You don't know how many people I know are saving lives, just stopping, giving somebody the opportunity not to be brain dead or paralyzed or deceased by keeping them going with chest compressions and breaths. I think it's very important. Narcan's important. A lot of people don't like it, but it's okay. I could talk to you guys all day, but you guys know why I'm here, right? We need to rip up the carpets. There's no more sweeping under the rug. We need to love the neighbors, and we need to love each other. We need to reach out and care before it's too late. If we don't clean up this epidemic, number one, we're going to lose a lot of people. And number two, the tourists aren't going to come to this beautiful community, and it's going to be wiped out eventually. It's like World War II out there on the streets right now, behind closed doors, and if it surfaces, we're in trouble. We need to save lives. If you're putting somebody in treatment, 7 days is not going to save their life. I have a big problem with that. I'm speaking in the State House next week. We need to start off with 30 days treatment. If someone needs help, yes, a detox immediately. But the problem is resources, and that's why I'm here. I have many resources, and I work really hard. I've worked with police, fire, judges, probation, parole officers, jails, attorneys, lawyers, doctors, families, the governor. I even got a high five from Lieutenant Polito, the lieutenant governor. She watches my page. She gave me a high five at Johnny's event with the governor. It was amazing to see someone recognize my hard work. We got to work hard together. Are you guys sick and tired of people dying? We got to step up and work hard and get some kind of game plan in place and work together with everybody in the community and stop the stigma, and don't be afraid. There's 400 t-shirts out there with an outline of an island with a number on it to me that goes to my cell phone. We got to break the silence, because silence is the biggest killer. And I did those shirts for a purpose, okay? I'm standing here telling you about stigma. When I designed those shirts, I did it the way I did it for a reason. It says HIKMT on the front, a life-changing mission. If it says heroin on the front is killing my town, people are going to turn their heads and not wear it, maybe. But if it says HIKMT, oh wow, what's that mean? Heroin's killing my town. So we go in the back door and raise awareness without big banners saying friggin' heroin. So we'll get a good response, right? Good idea? People will ask you what HIKMT stands for, and you can tell them. And you can tell them you're a warrior and you're on the front lines with Billy Inkslinger, and you're going to make an impact in this beautiful world and this beautiful island we live on. Right? Okay. This is very hard for me to do, but in closing, this is probably going to change your life. I have a friend, I have a special guest. That special guest is a good friend of mine, an amazing father. You see him on the football fields with his kids. You hear his name around town. When I was down and out fighting for my life, he was the only one promoting me to do tattoos, to help me survive again and get to where I am today. Everyone in the community knows him. I brought him here tonight for you guys, and I don't do this much. I've brought this special guest to 3 events so far. And right now I'm having chest pains talking about it, and you'll see why. I want you guys to clap as loud as you can and give me a standing ovation for my friend Jason. Come on, come on. Is that on?
So that I wouldn't feel the pain that I felt that night. Please tell my wife and kids I love them. And if you have time, go down to that football field and root on my little boy. Because you don't have a dad. I made a big mistake. It's very powerful. And I did my best. I am so sorry that I did this to you and my family. Tell my family I love them. And I'm watching over all of you from up above. I wish I could turn back time, because I would have put that down. If I only knew it was going to be my last time. I love you. Protect and watch over my family, because the devil took my life.
That's my special guest. You don't ever want to beat my special guest. I'm sorry. That's my best friend, Jason. This killer epidemic is no joke. No joke. And that's why I do this. Who's ready to kick indoors and rip up carpets on this island? All ears? Can we do it? Let's break the stigma. And let's save some lives together and raise awareness and work with everybody. It's about teamwork, it's about caring, and it's about doing the right things. And I know we can all do it. I do it every day. If you wake up and you have a heartbeat, please make a difference on these streets every single day. And thank you very much for coming here tonight.